Good evening and welcome to another edition of Filmnut. I am your host, Jeff Schubert. Glad you can join us for tonight's show. To catch up on past episodes, you can go to thestream.tv/Filmnut, and you can follow us on Twitter by going to @thefilmnut. My guest tonight, Paul Ben Victor, may have been one of the stars of the TV series The Invisible Man, but there is nothing invisible about his career, which spans over 20 years and is still going very strong. Recently, the USA Network show that Paul co-stars in Plain Sight, was picked up for its 5th season. Prior to Sight, some of the work you may have seen him in includes Entourage, The Wire, Everybody Hates Chris, John from Cincinnati, or NYPD Blue, and I'm telling you, I'm just listing a few. His film resume includes True Romance, Tombstone, Daredevil, and A Civil Action. With writing in his DNA, his mother is a playwright, they teamed up for what turned out to be a long journey that resulted in the independent film Should've Been Romeo, in which Ben Victor stars and also produces. I really enjoyed watching Paul have an opportunity to stretch in this comedic piece and step out of the character actor role and carry this film. But it wasn't just him. Romeo has a great cast that stars Michael Rapaport, Kane, Ed Asner, and BJ Britt. Supporting roles played by Kelly Osbourne, Mary McCormack, who in Plain Sight fans will recognize, of course, Kelly Stables, and Costas Mandalore, hope I got that right. As the finishing touches are placed on this film, Should've Been Romeo, Paul Ben Victor, welcome to Filmnut.
That's very nice. Did you write that?
I did.
It's impressive. And you're quite a stud on that preview there. I like the different shots of you. It's very,
thank you. Thank you very much. We worked very hard on that prior to season 5.
Very nice. Very nice.
It is an absolute pleasure to have you on here. Just watching your work over the years in so many different projects and just watching you do your thing, and I'm very excited to talk to you. And the first thing I want to do is, I would congratulate any filmmaker sitting in front of me, completing a film like you did with Should've Been Romeo.
Thank you.
It's a great accomplishment. Had an opportunity to watch it last night, very funny, I enjoyed it. But the persistence, this was not, Avatar didn't take as long, to put together, and they were waiting on technology. So talk about the journey you and your friend, director Mark Bennett, went through with this, and what was the obstacle, and then what finally happened to say, hey, this is going to happen?
How long an answer do you want? 14 years?
14 years worth, right?
Started probably about, I think about 13, 14 years ago. I was sitting with my mom in her Greenwich Village apartment, and we're talking about when I had done Romeo and Juliet in summer stock, and then this other element entered the conversation, and family questions and things, and then she said one thing that planted a seed in me, and I just thought, Ma, that's a movie. I'm not going to say what it is, but had to do with family and what ifs, and whose
choices you make
belongs to what, and who might be whose. And so we started writing a draft, that's 14 years ago. About 5 years ago, and my best friend since childhood, Mark Bennett, and my cousin Rob Novak, who has Sunny Boy Studios, they started producing it together early on, and then David Levy, who was doing another business with us, makeup business, that's a whole other world, a whole other night where I was in before this. He said, I'm going to produce your movie. Israeli guy. Paul, I'm the producer. Just call me producer. This started a long time ago. So one thing led to another, and it was always pretty, we thought we were going to make it 10 years ago. Money fell through. I've got the money. I don't have the money. I got the money. Where's the money? Not the money. It's always about the money. Right. 5 years ago, we did a complete rewrite, and it really, added that another element to it that was exciting to me. And then Mark Bennett, he stayed. I'll have to just say, he stayed with Levy, and on Levy said, David, this is the year. This was 5 years ago. And he literally called him, I think, every day for like 3 years. Maybe he'd miss a week. Maybe he'd give him a break on the weekend. But finally, David last year said, okay, I'm ready. Let's do the movie.
Did it help, like 10 years later? Okay,
yes.
You've done so much more work, friends and contacts who you were able to pull in. Did that help get the money?
I think it was just timing for everybody. There was a couple of times we were almost ready to do it. I got busy with The Wire, I think is what happened. I had to go to Baltimore. We were about to shoot it. Then I got 10 episodes to do The Wire, and then that sort of fell through. But what did happen, I will say, in waiting for the money to come through and for the thing to come together was that we kept rewriting it and rewriting it and rewriting it. So
a blessing in disguise, right?
a huge blessing, because I would have, slit my wrists if I had to make the script we had 4 or 5 years ago.
How many times?
Oh no, we missed this and this and this. And now I'm happy with it.
How many times did you think the script was perfect, only to then do what you just say, discover that
It's never perfect.
Well, you know what I'm saying, though, right?
I never thought it was. I didn't love it until this
Last incarnation?
Yeah, until the last incarnation,
Right.
and then yeah.
For the audience watching, what is it about? Should Have Been Romeo gives me a clue, right? But
Yes, shoulda, woulda, coulda. It's everybody I think goes through that in life. Wishing they had made other choices. But it's sort of a coming of age story for a middle-aged guy, and it's a comedy or at times dramedy about a potato chip spokesman, which is a spoof on my life because I used to do a lot of commercials, who is whose grandfather and other characters just inundate him and turn his world upside down in his house. And you finish. You watch the damn movie.
Sure.
Fix
Well,
it.
well, I like
I got to
how-
do this. I haven't done any. I haven't talked. You got to have these little clips for the what do you call it, for the press conferences and all that.
Sure. No, well, it's funny. You talk about it's a comedy with some drama. The drama creates the conflict, right? I mean, it's comedy. It's very funny. You have all these great stars and supporting characters
Yeah.
filling in that are in and around your life who's going through this crisis, right? You want to be a big star. You want to be an actor. You should have been Romeo. Then your grandfather gets thrown on your lap.
Played by Ed Asner.
Played by Ed Asner, who does an outstanding job. Carol Kane, your mother.
Yeah. And then
She's eccentric, go figure, but
Right.
she's great. She
was a gift, as was everybody in the cast.
And Kelly Osbourne did a great job for you.
Mary Vernew, casting director, and Lindsay, Mary said, "I have an idea for you," and Kelly Osbourne is looking to do her first movie. I think this was her first. She says it was her first. And she likes this part and wants to come in and audition. So she came in, and there she was. I don't know. I don't watch any TV. I don't, but I knew she was because I'm, anyway, an old rock and roll fan. I know Ozzy, right? So, but she came in, and she was lovely and wonderful and funny and adorable. And then she came. Then we rehearsed alone, together, with her coach, old friend of mine from college, Jeff Marcus, and then we got together with the producers and we did a few more of the scenes because we have a big physical comedy couple of scenes, as you saw.
Yeah.
There's a lot of big, sticky, funny, over-the-top stuff that needed to be played right. And we rehearsed it, and she was dynamite. She was great. She added so much, a lot of stuff little improvs are hers. So
Well, a couple of points to bring up about her, but before we get too far into it, let's look at a little snippet and meet your character in the movie in this very short clip, okay?
all right.
Just been on tour for a while, doing the States, LA. Oh.
On that website that they showed that link at the end, you can see little vignettes of a lot of the characters, right?
Yes. Just go to romeothemovie.com,
And
and there's a website there, and it just, what is it called? You scan over the faces, and you can see little
And you can
clips.
click on it, and you can see all the great characters. You see little
Yeah.
vignettes. They're very funny. Kelly, this is a little bit of a spoiler alert. Hope you don't mind me. What cracked me up right away is Kelly's character is obsessed with your character. And like she meets your parents, your mom, and you're like, I got to get out of here.
She's out.
So
She's out.
if you're out there, if you ever have a stalker or someone obsessing over you, introduce them to your dysfunctional family, and that could potentially ward them off. That was very funny right off the bat.
Yeah. She ran off. Yeah.
One more Kelly question, but I want to get to our first instant message of the evening
Yeah.
from our viewers. We do appreciate you watching and putting forth your questions. John L. would like to ask, I really enjoy In Plain Sight and see that it is going to end after next season. Why would they do that if it's still popular? Okay, so I mentioned in the beginning.
Why? John L.? Is it
John L.,
Go ahead.
yeah.
You mentioned in the beginning what? Oh, yeah, this is the 5th season.
5th season, so congratulations on being
Thank
picked
you.
up, but you simultaneously find out
That
you're,
we're doing
it's your last season.
Yeah, last season.
So
you know,
answer John L.
What can I tell you, John? It's these things are not in my hands. We get out there, we do the best we can, and actually we're excited, and I'm thrilled to have done 5 seasons. I don't think I've never done 5 seasons of a show. So, you know, every show runs its course, and I don't know exactly the reason. It must be somewhere about dollars and cents. So, you know, I don't.
Well,
yeah.
one thing, I'm glad you brought that up, John, thank you, because I did prepare to talk about that, and I have a quote here. I read the following in the Variety from the USA Network co-president Chris McCumber. He says, "This is a show that is close to our hearts. It was one of the main shows that built our business at USA. We owe it to them to pick up the 8 final episodes." That quote, it's as if no one's watching and they're doing you kind of like a favor. Your season 4 finale was up 6% over the previous year. You had 4.9 million viewers.
Let's rally.
Let's rally.
Start a riot.
Let's do a thing. Let's get viewer support.
In plain sight. Ready?
In plain sight. John
Hey.
L., I want you to lead the rebellion.
You know, it's nice to know we had some great finale numbers, you know, and I don't know how all that machine works. USA definitely knows what they're doing, and again, I'm thrilled to have had the 5 that we're going to have. Yeah.
Now, you know, it's a blessing and a curse because you know, a lot of actors, you're not going to walk away from a show that's going, but if it is taken away from you, you do have this under your belt now, and maybe you'll spin it off and you'll do more movies like Should've Been Romeo or, you know, network. So it kind of forces you to pursue other opportunities, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, you're back on the market and hopefully
And available.
Which I have to say, I mean, I've always sort of rubbed my hands together after a job and gone, okay, who's going to land on me next? What wacky character am I going to get to play again? You know, who am I going to, you know, dress up and be this time? You know, so that has always been exciting to me. And because there always is somebody, you know, whether it be in a little indie or a big movie or a TV show or whatever it is, I look forward to, like, where am I going to go and what hotel and what city am I going to be in? It's exciting to me. So I'm actually, initially it was a punch in the gut. I was like, oh man, that was a great gig, you know. And now, you know, it's just time to move on.
Well, speaking of crazy and what are you going to be next, I mean, you ever pick up a script from Everybody Hates Chris and say, they're having me say what today? You know?
Pretty racy stuff, huh?
That's right.
That had to have been the most, I think, in terms of like fun, you know, like just out there, nutty, fun character where they wanted me to go as wild as I possibly could go. I was like, guys, should I bring it down? No, go. I was like, all right. And I just had a ball doing that, just getting in that kid's face. I watched a few of those recently, and I don't often watch myself. I hate watching myself, usually. It takes me like 40 times to stop criticizing what I'm doing or what I look like or how fat I look or double chins or whatever the hell's going on. Oh, yeah. I got to watch it like 90 times before
Really?
Yeah. So I don't watch usually what I'm doing. But Chris was funny. I made myself laugh on that one. Anyway.
That was good. Dark Side of the Force would like to ask, how did you find out that your character was being killed off of Entourage, and were you disappointed? Or was that like another big hit in the gut? Or did you know?
It's a funny question. Well, hey, my managers produced the show, Leverage Entertainment, and they're fantastic and they're great guys. And they sent me the script. They said, Paul, we're bringing it back on Entourage. You're gonna love it. And it was a great couple of episodes. And they're thinking, this is great, and it was great. And you know, it's great to be on the show, guys. But you got to realize when you're killing an actor, you got to say, it's great, it's great, it's great. By the way, you're going to be in a freaking coffin at the end. Just let me just preface that. But it's a great couple of episodes. But they didn't preface it. I was like, and I read it, I went, oh, dead. Okay, you know. So that's how I found out. I read it, but they were all excited. I was getting back on the show because I had done a few, and then a year went by, and then I'd done a couple more. So I was very happy to be back on the show, but it was a little bit of a, you know, you need a little oil to grease that one up before they, you know.
It's like the doctor coming in, God forbid.
That's right.
But I tell you, since Dark Side brought that up, thanks.
Dark Side. Reminded me.
I had David Maples on the show, creator, writer
Love
for
David.
In Plain Sight.
Creator, brilliant.
And when I had him on the show a couple of years ago, I wasn't aware, I was researching the show, started watching episodes, weren't aware you were on it, and then when I saw you right away, I was like relieved because the last time I saw you, you had had the heart attack. That was your death episode, and it was so powerful. It was like, this wasn't any like Fred Sanford, Elizabeth, I'm coming to join you. I mean, this was like the most intense, believable heart attack I had ever seen. And when I saw you on In Plain Sight, there was actually a moment of, I'm glad he's okay.
So did my doctor, who called me the next day, and he said, Paul left me a message. I know it's TV, but I just call me. I want to make sure you're okay. You know, I didn't sleep much last night. I'm in the office. Call me. I'll pick up just to make sure. I just want to make sure you're okay.
He really did that.
He did. He left a message on the machine, and he was. I heard him. He was a little. His voice was crackling. He was a little upset.
Very powerful. Great work. Chumlodio would like to ask, I love the way you portrayed the tragic comic character Palaka in John from Cincinnati. It seems like creator David Milch often works with the same group of actors. Anything coming up for you with him? Is that something you'd like to do?
I would love it. I would love it.
Chumlodio.
Chumlodio. It's a cool name.
Yeah.
I'm gonna name my somebody Chumlodio. That's good.
So
no, I would love to work with Milch again. You know, I met him on NYPD Blue. I mean, it just, you know, he's a genius. We sort of known that he's brilliant, and I love working with him. We just have a real camaraderie on the set, and he hands me stuff at the last minute, as he does with everybody, but I love it. And I'll stick it on the wall if I have to. I'll put it on the floor. I'll write it on my, you know, because he writes in stride often. And John from Cincinnati, you know, I came in for a couple of episodes, and I just finished out the year, and working with Dayton Cali. Yeah, Dayton, I'm mentioning you.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a great sign.
family.
It's a great compliment, you know, when directors, producers, they use you again, or you come in for a certain amount of episodes and it winds up being extended, or they bring you back. I mean, it's just another sign that, you know, you're doing very good work.
Thank you. It's very nice. But I love, I cross my fingers that David comes up with something, and at some point, whenever, to come back. I think, you know, you feel like that happens. You know, you weave in and out of people's lives, especially writers. I think they have certain voices in their head that you sort of instruments that you could come in and play, you know. And I think I like to think that I'm one of those characters that comes in and could do what David needs at times.
That's exactly the way the creative mind works. They can go 363 days without thinking about you, but then when they create the part that they associate with you, you're in their head right away.
Luke,
you know?
Perry, I got on the set, and we were talking, and he said, I was there when Milch was pacing back and forth. Palaka. Ah, I got it. And he told me he watched him go, get Ben Victor on the phone, and 2 days later I was doing this role.
That's awesome.
So it was fun to hear that story from the horse's mouth.
So I was listening to Sports Talk Radio the other day, and I think it was Kurt Schilling. He was talking about the difficult job that pitching and hitting coaches have because they work with all the individual players in their area, whether it be pitching or hitting, and they have to deal with all their idiosyncrasies and cater to their needs and whims and so forth. You had a big cast with a lot of stars. You had movie stars, TV stars, reality star. How was it for you as the producer and your director, catering and making everyone happy and putting them in their best position to succeed and do well for you?
Well, I have to hand it to Mark Bennett, because he made the whole set a bit of a party, a bit of a family gathering, which it was. You know, so his energy of just keeping it calm, no matter what was going on. I mean, there were days we were like, we had to get to the film stock company and by a certain time, or this was going to close, or we weren't going to be able to finish, and whatever. And he just kept it cool the entire time. I'm much more of an emotional basket case. So he was at the helm, and he was a great director, you know, in every sense of the word. I have worked with a lot of these people, you know, and they are family to me, you know. So they just showed up, you know. Natasha Henstridge, I felt terrible. She had to wait in her trailer for like a huge, long time before she was called in at like 8 p.m. and she didn't work till 4 in the morning. I felt terrible. Sent the flowers. You're not mad at me anymore, are you? And so she was, you know, but everybody came in just, where do you need me? When do I need to be there? And they were there, you know. And so there was, everybody was wonderful. Everybody was happy to be there and happy to do it. You know, everybody, Carol, Kane, and Ed, who I had worked with before a couple times. Back on a show called Trials of Rosie O'Neill. I don't know if you know that show. Sharon Gless was the star, and we'd worked together on that. But you know, Rapaport and I, we've done like 10 things together. We've been.
He plays your agent in the movie. Very funny.
So funny, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh.
Great job as your agent. And Kelly Stables is his assistant, and they're a little back and forth. And
Kelly is represented with the same place I am at APA, and my agent Dan Barron said, "Hey, I've got a suggestion for you for the Kelly Osbourne role." And we did a staged reading, and Kelly did the reading playing the Kelly role. And she was fabulous. And then, of course, Kelly Osbourne came up, and she came in, and she was so unique and different. We said, "Oh wow!" And it would be wonderful to have Kelly's first movie be our movie, and how lucky we would be, right? So that worked out. So then Kelly ended up, Stables played that other role. I'm talking about a movie that nobody knows about.
That's right. Now, one thing I was reading about Kelly.
Everybody, after you see it, we'll come back, we'll talk about it again.
There you go. It'll all make sense. Kelly Osbourne was talking about, she was nervous, first movie, and she has this scene where you and her are dry humping each other. And she said she was very nervous about that.
For ratings, it's all ratings. No, she wasn't really dry humping. She's taking my head and banging it against the headboard is what she's doing. And I'm wearing a wig and it's flopping all over the place, so.
What was the budget for your hair in this movie, by the way?
The truth is, I have a lot of wigs.
Okay.
So I've used them over the years.
You went into your personal stash.
I went into my own personal stash. I love it. The New York guy
That's
comes
right.
out.
You bring it out in me. So the director.
And also Troy Mitchell was the wig designer, and he had a bunch of wigs that he helped us, gave to the production.
So it wasn't a problem getting the nerves out of her? Did that make you nervous that she was nervous? Was it palpable? Did she keep it to herself?
He wasn't nervous. Was she nervous? She was nervous no, she was great. She's pro.
Okay.
She was fabulous.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I mean, it was tough. It was a tight quarters, that bed scene that we have. We have a bed scene. And it was, and so we had to choreograph it just right, and we spent a lot of time doing that. But she was great. Just pro.
As a producer, did anything surprise you, or was there anything that in particular that made you a basket case during the making of the movie that was like an obstacle that you had to deal with or overcome? No, it was all good? You were prepped for everything?
I think it took like I said, we've been prepping this thing for 14 years. It's like, there were things that happened in terms of, on the business end. Making sure certain sets were done on time and this was paid for and this crew was being hired at the right time, whatever. But for the most part, it ran very smoothly. It ran very, very smoothly, and it was a blast. It was a blast to have all these people just show up and I had friends, Vinny Ventresca from Invisible Man, the star, did one line.
I know.
And Steve Heitner and Josh Molina was a wonderful actor from West Wing and In Plain Sight. Came in for one line, 2 lines.
Invisible Man, great show, by the way. I think the first season is now available on DVD on Netflix. For people
Is it really?
For people who want to catch that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I could finally throw out my VHS collection?
Yeah.
I have like 90 in a closet filled with VHS tapes.
Absolutely. Was the character you played at all in that series any bit of a springboard for the character you play in Plain Sight?
Yes. I mean, you know, not, I didn't think about that, but when I realized it sort of was, you know, Stan McQueen is sort of an older version of Bobby Hobbs.
Well, that's
you know,
what I
know
thought,
what I mean?
you know?
So I think that was just an organic mistake that kind of happened, but yeah, I don't know how to sort of articulate that, but Bobby Hobbs was sort of the goofy younger cousin of Stan McQueen, who finally like comes into his own and becomes the chief, but he found these other.
Yeah. Like, I love the comedy drama aspect of In Plain Sight, and I haven't watched as much of Invisible Man yet, but I started to notice some of that, and in your character, like it's like he's good, but he's funny goofing on himself. He's like a parody, but he is good, you know, what he does, and it's fun.
Yeah, I think they have similar, they're related definitely somehow.
Now, your character in Plain Sight, I've definitely seen some growth, especially in season 4, and I was looking at some message boards for In Plain Sight, and the fans loved the growth of your character in season 4, just becoming more competent and not always maybe, you know, being so in awe of Mary, which is a phrasing that David Maples used when I was interviewing him, that they wanted to find, that they were always searching for that line, you know, with your character, between being in awe of.
And David was great at it, and I missed his writing, you know, because he the first 2 seasons he wrote me my own little episode. One was Stand By Me, and another was called Stand and Deliver, I think, maybe like that. Stand and Deliver. I don't know, but they had the name Stan in it. But we now have this past season John Strauss and Ed Decter, who, you know, took the ball and ran with it, and so they definitely brought back, I think, what might have been missing, you know, in the middle seasons. So they were terrific, and great writers, and I look forward to see what they do in the 5th season.
Well, I mentioned the numbers for the finale in 4. You know, it was awesome, that episode. It's action, you know, and Stan the Man taking control. When you're on a series, and I think you said this was the first one that went to the 5th one for you.
Yeah, 5th, I don't know, yeah.
As an actor, it must be creatively refreshing to have that kind of growth, as opposed to, you know, coming in and hitting the same beats kind of over again, right?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is, it's very comfortable when you're on a series. You have this family, and you look forward to going back to, you know, we were in Albuquerque, so I look forward to going back, and it becomes another one of your stomping grounds, you know. So, but in terms of the character, I don't know if I think that way. I just sort of learn the lines as best I can, show up, and Spencer Tracy says, you know, try not to trip over the furniture. So.
And enjoy the Chinese food.
I never had it there. Is there good Chinese food?
Oh, no.
Spencer Tracy used to say.
No,
that.
you always in the room. You always have the Chinese
the
food
noodles.
and the noodles. Yeah. Film Fanatic 82 would like to ask, if you were cast in a movie and can work with either a great DP, cinematographer, or a great director, which would you choose and why?
Who would I choose? A great DP or a great director?
Yes.
Well, there's nothing better than a great director, because when you get a wonderful piece of direction, you sort of it's sort of like a magical moment. It's like, oh my God, where have you been all my life? You know, you could actually tell me a small little note and make the scene work better. You know, because you in television, you kind of, I don't want to say on your own, because directors are there, but they're only there for that week, and then they move on, and sometimes they recycle. But you're usually fending for yourself, you know, and it's all about making the day and getting your scenes done as, you know, within, as we say, making the day. You know that term.
Of course.
So Michael Morris, who directed the last episode, is Mary's husband, by the way. He was a showrunner on Brothers and Sisters. Was that director? You know, he was incredible. I mean, we had a lot of terrific directors, but I remember he gave me a couple of small notes. I was like, oh, those are a little gem. Thank you. And why didn't I think of that? Right. So there's nothing better than a wonderful director. On the other hand, I sometimes look at myself and I go, your nose is not that big. You're not that bald. Get me a better DP. So, you know, you also want to look at, but first and foremost is a good director.
Hard to choose, right?
No, I'd go
No,
for
it's
a
pretty
good
easy for you to
director,
shoot,
yeah. I'd rather
but they're both important.
I'd rather have a big nose, and I already have a big nose.
Well, you mentioned making your day a moment ago on your film Should've Been Romeo. Were there any days that you didn't make, or what was your longest day and most difficult or challenging day to shoot?
The last day, we worked till we worked late. We worked till the sun came up. It was supposed to end at midnight, and we went probably an extra 7, 8 hours, and it was the last day. And you could once they pull the plug, you got to get out of there. People are on planes; they're booked for other jobs.
And what were you shooting?
We were shooting the big commercial scene. That's the first scene of the movie.
Chips.
Dippy.
Dippy.
Mr. Dippy. When you need a little spice, Mr. Dippy makes it nice. Mr. Dippy makes it nice.
You took it very seriously in the movie.
That's written by, who wrote that?
Who wrote that?
Ira Antelis, who is one of the big jingle writers and who I went to high school with. I mean, we pulled in friends from my high school band.
Right.
He was the piano player and organ player. He's one of the big jingle writers. He wrote "Be All That You Can Be." Remember that one?
Yeah.
He wrote, remember, "Like Mike, I Want to Be Like Mike."
Wow, he's big.
Remember that?
Yeah.
He's big. He wrote our jingle.
Wow.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's big time.
And we have Jeff Zanelli from the Hans Zimmer camp, who did our music. So we got to him through Alan Meyerson, who's probably the biggest mixer. He's done 170 of the biggest movies, from Tron to Pirates.
Very nice.
All these huge movies. He did our mixing, and so we had a lot of friends come and help us.
Now, was it the coverage that took the time, or just the more takes, or what was it about that day that made it the longest?
I think there was just we had a lot to do. We had that scene, and also the screen test scene at the end. That scene. So there was a lot to do, and there was 50 extras, and it was a lot to do. It was a lot to do.
Timber 87, do you prepare any differently for film than for TV?
It's all about the time that you have. I remember I did the Three Stooges movie, and I had at least a month, maybe almost a month and a half to prepare for that. And it was a TV movie, but I had maybe even 2 months. So I got on set and I was off book. I knew my whole month's work ahead of time. It's probably the only time I've ever had that much time. So, we were prepped. We had a lot of rehearsal time in Australia where we shot at Sydney. And so it's really about the job. If you have all the time, if you have extra time to prepare to audition, if you have an audition, like if I have auditioned for something, The Corruptor, I remember I had like 3 weeks for the audition. And I spent every day learning those 5 or 6 scenes. By the time we shot, I didn't flub a line in like a month. I knew every take. I was able to be really free and clear, free and easy with them, So it's about the time, not really about. But in television, inherently, you have less time, so you do have to grab your lines where you can, and there's a muscle memory thing that begins to develop. Hopefully, Mary McCormack is amazing. She could look at things for 5 minutes, a monologue this long, and go, "Got it, let's go." And I'm like, it would take me a week.
So if you look on your caller ID and you see your management companies on the phone, are you hoping that it's a call about a movie or a TV show?
Come on, whatever the bucks, no bucks, no buckaroos. No, it's honestly, the truth is, I love getting a job. I really do, especially an offer. It's not about the money. The money is the icing, but it's about the phone call saying, "Paul, you're going to Pittsburgh. Paul, you just got an offer to do a guest on this, or you're doing this movie." And as I've gotten older, believe me, I appreciate those more and more, because I think younger actors don't get it. You have to go up and down a little bit. Younger actors that get these wonderful careers and these starring roles, and then their career, they didn't audition 9,000 times for parts. They don't know how good they have it. They really don't. But and their name has all this value, so it's an incredible place they're in, and they can't know. They just don't know, because they never went through the agony, unless they did go through that, the struggle.
Well,
But I love getting that call. Paul, you're going here, you're going there, you just got off of this, or if it's whatever it is, movie, TV, it doesn't matter.
it's a great call to get. Well, speaking of the business, you were on Entourage, and you're represented by the guys who produced the show, right?
Right.
So how much of...
Which got me in the door. And I read twice for the Ari role, by the way.
Oh, did you?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That's the one I wanted. I was like, guys, come on. I got to get that part. Jeremy was obviously brilliant.
Right, absolutely.
It said in the original script, a Jeremy Piven type.
Oh, wow.
And then they tried, I think, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think they tried to do everything they could to get a Jeremy Piven type, but not Jeremy Piven. What are you doing? Go get Jeremy. He lives over there. Call him up.
He lives over there. Is it all complete exaggeration, or is there anything about that show that you can say, yeah, the business is like that, or studio heads talk like that, or agents at that level talk like that?
I don't know. I don't. Like I said, I don't watch myself too much, so I don't watch it that much. So I can't. I don't know. But I will tell you a story. I was once at the tennis. I'm a big tennis fan. U.S. Open this week. I'm like salivating.
Who's going to win?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. Nadal got all emotional today because of the weather. He's like a big press conference going on. Shh. And so I don't know who's going to win.
All right, so you're saying you're a tennis fan, and you were...
I just love the whole, yeah. So anyway, I was at the UCLA games, and this guy comes up to me, and he goes, listen, I love what you're doing. This is great. And it was right after Entourage started. And he goes, I represent this tequila. It's delicious. I'm going to send you a case. And I'm like, okay, that's great. But he didn't say, I like your character. I love whatever you do. The work you're doing is terrific. And, we've done work with your company before. And I'm like, I think he thought I was a real studio head.
Right.
That was maybe making a guest appearance on Entourage.
Right.
So, and I just sort of went along with it. My mother was with me at the time, and she's like, oh, do you know that guy? I said, I don't think so. But that's what comes up. But in terms of, are we doing what's real and not real? I don't know.
Just a job.
It's a job. You go in, you learn your lines, you bang it out.
Fair enough. Now, if I were to ask you to describe in one word your thoughts on your experience with certain TV series, right? What word would come to mind when I say
I'm bad at this.
Huh? You're bad at this?
I'll try, all right.
The Wire.
Beautiful Baltimore buildings, shadows, gorgeous. I love Baltimore. Go ahead.
Okay. Everybody Hates Chris.
The most fun, spitting in little Chris's face, talking to him like this. That was the most fun. I love that. I love playing that character. Probably the most fun ever.
Entourage.
Except for another movie. Okay, Entourage. Push, Dave Rodriguez's movie, Push. I had another great time playing my gay Puerto Rican character. It was very interesting. You can watch that another time. Entourage? Is that what you said?
That's what I said.
Well, I just told. I don't know. Tequila.
Tequila. Okay, that's the word that comes to mind.
Well,
okay.
Entourage. I don't know.
In Plain Sight.
In Plain Sight, 5 great years, 5 great seasons.
Okay, awesome.
Are these one-word answers?
They're close enough. You say one word,
5.
you get 5 words.
5.
That's kind of good enough. The question we like to get everyone out of here on is, do you have a favorite set speak term?
Set speak. Well, copy that. Mary, she says that in real life, so I've adopted that. You sort of have to. She'll say, it's like, Mary, did you want the chicken with the bean? Copy that. Copy that. Copy that. Copy that. So she uses copy in everyday life. So
So you're copying her favorite.
Well, you sort of, it happens. You sort of just, these things happen intrinsically. Copy that.
And she was
mop up the flesh.
She was all too happy to
plug up the eye hole.
There you go. She was all too happy to help you out with Should've Been Romeo, right? She did a great part.
She's so
Casting
good.
Director, right?
She was so good.
Yeah.
So good.
I don't think that woman can help but not be funny.
She is hysterical. Oh my God.
So In Plain Sight, season 5, when can we see that?
After we shoot it.
Okay. First thing you got to shoot.
We got to shoot it. I think we start again in January. That's the rumor. Actually, I was having dinner with Mary last night. Mary and Michael at their lovely home, and I think she said she mentioned January we'd shoot. So I think it's going to resemble the schedule we've been on.
Usual
Yeah,
time.
maybe
Okay,
we might
great.
start a little early. It may air as early as June, I think, maybe
Okay.
May, whenever. I don't know.
And 8 episodes. And Should've Been Romeo, where can people, we gave the website earlier, you want to give it again? And
Yeah,
what's the
you
status
could
of
go
that?
to romeothemovie.com, click on all the characters, and you can see all the little teasers of all the characters. And we'll just stand by, stay tuned, and hopefully we'll have an announcement soon of when it will be released. People are talking tonight, as we speak. Put out good vibes.
I'm putting out the Veebs.
Putting out the
Well,
Veebs.
Paul Ben Victor, it's been a pleasure having you on. Thanks so much for coming on.
Been real.
All right. That is going to do it for this edition of Filmnut. If you came in late, it'll be available on demand about a week or so from now. No, Fridays, I think, at thestream.tv/Filmnut. Once again, I want to thank my guest, Paul Ben Victor, and all of you for surfing in, and we'll see you next time on Filmnut.
Easy. I didn't cry.